Have you ever stopped to think about how your arm can do so much? How it can throw a fastball, lift a heavy box, and then give a really gentle hug? Well, it all comes down to the incredible engineering of just one bone. Today we're going to take a guided architectural tour of this amazing structure, the humerus.
It's pretty wild, right? All those totally different movements, from raw power to a delicate touch, are all made possible by this single bone. So let's dive in and get to know the engineering marvel that's sitting right there in your upper arm.
All right, so to kick off our tour, let's just get the lay of the land. What exactly is the humerus, and where does it fit into the bigger picture of how your arm works?
So the name itself, humerus, is pretty straightforward. It comes directly from the Latin for upper arm, but its job, anything but simple. You gotta think of it as this crucial bridge. It connects your shoulder blade to the two bones down in your forearm, and in doing so, it creates the entire framework for your upper arm's strength and all its movement. Here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to explore this bone from the very top to the very bottom, almost like we're traveling right down your own arm. We'll start up at the shoulder with what's called the proximal end. Then we'll journey down that long middle section, the shaft, and we'll wrap things up at the elbow, exploring the really intricate distal end. Okay, first stop, the very top. This is the proximal end, where the humerus creates one of the most mobile, most versatile joints in your entire body. The secret sauce for your shoulder's incredible range of motion is right here, the head of the humerus. I mean, look at it. It's this almost perfect half sphere that just slots into the shallow socket of your shoulder blade. This design, this ball and socket, it literally acts like a high-performance ball bearing, letting your arm swing, rotate, and reach in pretty much any direction you can imagine. Now, here's something kind of weird but really important about the humerus. It actually has two necks. You've got the anatomical neck, which is the true dividing line where the head meets the rest of the bone, but then just a little below that, there's the surgical neck. And there's a very practical reason for that name. That slightly narrower, weaker spot is one of the most common places for the humerus to break. Right next to the head, there's this big, bony bump called the greater tubercle. The best way to think of this is as a major docking station for your muscles. It's the anchor point for 3 of the 4 rotator cuff muscles, and that's the supercritical group of muscles that keeps your shoulder stable and lets it rotate with control and power. Then on the front, you've got a smaller bump, the lesser tubercle, and that's the anchor for the 4th rotator cuff muscle. And running right between these two bumps, these two tubercles, is a little valley called the bicipital groove. Its whole job is to act as a protected channel to safely guide the long tendon of your biceps muscle as it makes its way up to the shoulder joint. All right, moving down from that really complex shoulder region, we get to the long middle section of the humerus, known as the shaft. Now, don't let its simple look fool you. This is not just some pillar of bone. It's more like a superhighway for muscles and nerves. You know, if you could slice the shaft in half and look at the cross-section, you'd see it isn't round. It's actually kind of triangular. This shape is created by 3 distinct borders, one on the front, one on the side, and one on the inner edge. And what that does is create 3 separate surfaces, each one perfectly shaped to be an attachment site for different muscles. And each of these surfaces has a very specific job. On the outer side, there's this rough patch where your powerful deltoid, your main shoulder muscle, really grips onto the bone. On the inner side, another muscle called the coracobrachialis attaches. And this is so important, on the back there's a shallow groove that serves as a protective pathway for the radial nerve. That's the nerve you absolutely need to extend your wrist and fingers. Okay, we've made it to the bottom of our tour, the distal end. This is where the humerus flattens out and gets way more complex, all to form that elegant, amazing hinge of your elbow joint. So down at the business end of the humerus, you have 2 totally different surfaces that connect to your forearm bones. The trochlea is shaped like a pulley, kind of like a spool of thread, and it fits perfectly with the ulna bone to give you that classic hinge motion when you bend your elbow. Right next to it is the capitulum, a rounded little knob that connects with the other forearm bone, the radius. Flanking these surfaces are 2 bony bumps you can actually feel. On the outer side of your elbow, that's the lateral epicondyle. This thing is a critical hub. It's the common anchor point for a whole team of muscles that extend your wrist and fingers. In other words, all the muscles that let you pull your hand back. And on the inner side of your elbow, you've got its counterpart, the medial epicondyle. This is the flexor hub. It's the starting point for all the muscles that do the exact opposite job, the ones that flex your wrist and fingers, bending your hand forward. It's just a perfect system of push and pull, all anchored to these 2 little points on this one bone. So we've gone the whole distance, from the ball joint at the shoulder all the way down to the hinge of the elbow.
Let's wrap up by connecting all this anatomy to the real world, with landmarks you can actually feel and a few common clinical issues.
And what's so cool about this is that it isn't just stuff in a textbook. You can feel these landmarks on your own body. I mean, go ahead and try it. That bony point on your shoulder, that's the greater tubercle. And those two bumps on either side of your elbow, those are the epicondyles we were just talking about. See, it's your own personal architectural tour.
And as we saw earlier, the bone's elegant shape also means it has a few built-in weak spots. Fractures tend to happen in three main areas. Up at the top, very often at that surgical neck we mentioned, right along the middle of the shaft, and down at the bottom, just above all those complex elbow structures.
So, the next time you pick something up or wave to a friend, maybe you'll have a new appreciation for the absolutely intricate engineering of the humerus. I mean, after seeing its whole design from the ball to the hinge and everything in between, what simple, everyday movement now seems a little more extraordinary to you?